Hello guys, welcome to our show. Today we discuss about KPI, how you can get results, traffic, sales, and anything else. I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Eyal Katz. How are you?
Good, good. How you doing, Anatoly?
Yeah, it's a big pleasure to get on my show. I'm doing great, sunny day, positive mindset, everything is fine. I think it depends on your mindset. If you set up the positive mindset at any weather, at any circumstances, everything will be fine. It's my attitude. Okay, before we start, just tell more about your experience, background, and why you decided to tell about this topic.
Cool. I've been in digital marketing and specifically, B2B marketing for about 10 years now. I kind of started out working for a big Fortune 500 company for SAP. I was on one of the marketing teams for SAP, and you really don't have a better playground, better learning environment for B2B than SAP. I mean, like that's the classic type of B2B software company. They've been around forever, and the type of software that they offer is really geared towards B2B enterprise companies. So it was a great place to learn. I kind of started out just doing editorial content. I grew up in the States, so I had like native English, and they just wanted somebody who can take technical documents and make them more SEO friendly, make them a little bit more search engine friendly back in the days where that was very very straightforward. You know exactly what you need to do that. And so basically I would start my day, with a pile of, so to speak, it was all digital still, but a pile of articles, on my desk, and kind of make that SEO friendly. And I did that. And then, I got moved on to a different job, but I realized that, startups were really more of where my interests lay. And I joined a startup as a member of the founding team. And we basically did it was the early years of machine learning and the early years of implementing machine learning. So we kind of found a way to find like an interesting use case for that. It was pretty successful, and we ended up selling it to Outbrain, one of the big ad tech companies. And then, I was also, VP marketing for early stage startups. One of them is already a unicorn, and I was the first marketing person there. And I found MVP Grow, my agency that I run and manage about almost 4 years ago. And we work exclusively with B2B tech companies, helping them grow, doing everything from, SEO content, PPC, marketing automation, pretty much a full, we like to call it marketing department as a service. That's kind of like what we offer. So that's kind of like allowed me to get a lot of perspective about, B2B marketing across a bunch of different industries globally. So it's been really good, and it's been a really interesting ride so far.
Nice. Love your experience. By the way, we have a sponsor today, Ahrefs, SEO tools and resources to grow your search traffic. Do you use this tool? Do you know about this tool?
Yeah, I use Ahrefs actually. That's a tool that I use for my own SEO research.
Nice. You mentioned about companies, big companies. I mean, like 500 Fortune companies. Can you tell more? What is the main difference? How to cooperate with such companies? Because I think, for example, if you started from scratch with a new website, new project, it's quite different if you cooperate with big companies that have a loyal audience, customers. That means you need to grow their sales. Tell more about cooperating
Yeah,
with big companies.
I mean, it is different working with big companies than it is working with startups. Right now, I work with startups, and I specialize in helping even established companies take new products and go to market with them. So right now, that is what I specialize in. But in the past, I've also worked around established products, and it's a little bit different, especially when it comes to marketing with products that don't yet have a clear product market fit. And even if they do have some kind of product market fit, they have it with a very limited audience. They haven't really reached product market fit across scale. It's very different because you're kind of like testing the waters. You want to put your foot in the water and check it out and see, all right, is this good? Is this working for me? or is this not? And you want to make decisions really quickly because of that, because, you know, you're testing things and you could be way in the wrong direction, but you don't know that yet. So you have to always be on top of things. You have to pay attention to every little single things that you do, and make sure that you're making decisions quickly. Whereas with established brands and established products, you have the luxury of knowing, like, this is the type of things that we do that have worked for us in the past and are very likely to work for us in the future. And if you need like a quick go-to solution, go-to channel for your marketing efforts, then you have that. You can always tap into that. On the one hand. On the other hand, it's really hard with established brands to create that hockey stick type growth, right? To see how you can, you know, like if you have very lofty goals and very competitive goals with an established brand, that sometimes is actually more difficult to do, because if you're selling $50 million a year, it's hard to get from 50 million to 100 million. But if you're selling $10,000 a year and you're trying to get to 20,000, sometimes that's easier. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes it is easier once you're able to tap into just a little bit of something, a little bit of a channel. You're getting traction a little bit somewhere. You can probably get from 10 to 20, but to get from 50 to 100, to get from 100 to 200, you need to make substantial efforts to do that, and it's going to take time. It's not going to be quick. So that's the main difference between working with established brands and working with new up and coming. It's the speed that things move and happen.
So valuable. Love it. Can you tell more about finding the right strategy? For example, I often see when webmasters chase high volume, you know, they can see, whoa, so much traffic, I can sell a lot, you know, with this traffic, but it doesn't mean that you can sell, even if you get this traffic, because we have competition, we have many other websites, especially for SEO. How to create the right strategy that it's possible to achieve with limited resources, and go ahead with that, especially if you are talking about KPI, how we can measure
Oh yeah,
or forecast the future.
no, for sure. So with SEO specifically, but also generally speaking, in B2B marketing, which is what I specialize in, it's all about knowing the target audience. You need to understand who the ideal customer persona is, you know, and especially if you're in an early stage, you need to get as granular as possible. You need to be like, all right, I want to get to this specific type of person and this specific type of company, this specific type of geo that do this specific type of thing. You need to understand who is the person and what is the company that can derive the most value from your offering. So that means that you need to be very clear about what your offering is. You need to be very clear about what your value proposition is. And once you have that clear, you need to understand, who is this best for? And once you understand that, then you can try and test if you're right. That's getting the product market fit part of it. But then if you're able to understand who that audience is, then when it comes to an SEO strategy specifically, I like to start thinking about, all right, so what does their day-to-day look like? Like, let's say that you're selling a CRM solution, right? You're selling a CRM solution for SMBs. And you think that, all right, so the person that, you know, the type of company that we need a company that has salespeople, that have at least some sales. If you're not making any sales, you don't need a CRM just yet. It's not going to be that critical. You might need it, but it's not an absolute need. And we want to get to that ideal person. So we're looking at a company that has salespeople. Let's say they have at least 3 to 4 salespeople. So if they have at least 3 to 4 salespeople, that means that the company has at least 20 to 30 employees. And then think about the features that you have inside your CRM. Is this a CRM that is best suited for construction companies? Maybe you have like solutions that are specific for that, you know, like getting a bill of materials, that kind of thing. Maybe you have that included. So now that you're kind of like trying to figure out, all right, who's this best suited for? And now you've come up with, this is best suited for, let's say, a salesperson in a software company that does B2B sales at a certain volume, et cetera, et cetera. What does their day-to-day look like? What kind of issues do they face in their day-to-day? Like, what are they concerned with? Obviously, they're concerned with sales, but what, you know, like, are discovery calls their main issue? Is getting leads their main issue? is churn their main issue? And now that you mapped out a few of the different issues that they face day to day, now it's time to start your keyword research around those things. And now you're starting to create keywords and keyword clustering around stuff that is relevant to the target audience. And now that you have that, you can start finding keywords that have volume, that, the competition score is something that you can live with and you can probably rank for it. Depends, what kind of SEO operation you got going on. And now you got yourself a content calendar, because now you're like looking, all right, so I'm going to write about this and I'm going to write about that. And I'm going to try and have it and all this in the next month. And maybe these articles will have for next month. Next thing you know, you have a content calendar and you have a content strategy for SEO. And that's for, like, let's say your company blog. And then for the pages that are on your website, where you have your product pages and your homepage, that's even easier. You don't need to think so much about the target audience and go into, providing added value. It's about, this is what we do. And then finding the keywords around that you need to kind of like, have those pages target, and then do your on-page and your off-page SEO, obviously. But as far as the strategy goes, that part of the thing is pretty simple. It's you should be able to understand which keywords you want to target for your product pages.
Love it. Yeah, I like it, because you mentioned that. For example, I remember when I listened to one episode with Tim Solo, that was audio podcast, and he shared that it's hard for them, for Ahrefs, to find a buying persona, because it's so broad. Can you tell how to find, for companies like Ahrefs and many other companies, a buying persona for SEO? Because it's quite different with paid marketing, where you can set up a buying persona, but in SEO we can cover a broader audience. Can you help with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean when I say the ideal customer persona. It's really easy for a lot of companies to get confused and to get off focus when you're able to offer a solution to pretty much anybody in a company. I mean, go even beyond Ahrefs. Think about a solution like Monday, Asana, Trello. They can work for any team in the organization, any organization. Freelancers, just one freelancer who wants to communicate with their clients and an open task for clients. Yeah, that's fine. A big organization, a software development team that need to manage their sprints and manage their tickets. Yeah, you can do that. Marketing, sales, whatever, any department. So how do they decide on who's the person that's most ideal for this? And that goes back to what I mentioned before about market research, understanding who has the biggest pain point that you're solving for. And when it comes to SEO solutions, I would say, if I had to guess, I haven't done the research, but I would say that the person that has the organization that has the most need, that has the biggest pain point, is the agency, the SEO agency, or the freelancer, the SEO freelancer, who need like some kind of SEO tool to basically manage this at the core of their business. They're SEO consultants, so it's at their core of their business. And since they're freelancing and since they're an agency, if they don't do this, they don't have a business. If you're an SEO manager in a company and you're an employee, you might not be the decision maker on the one hand, and this might not be as much of a pain when it's your own business. So I think that if I'm trying to sell an SEO solution, if I'm trying to sell any kind of a marketing tool that has mass appeal to it, I would start with agencies and freelancers, because there are a lot of them in marketing. So it's not that you're limiting yourself to a very small audience, and they would probably have the most immediate need that they need answered with these solutions. And I think they would also be the fastest adopters, right? You also want early adopters. You want people who you can get on board pretty quickly. And so you get to a person who's also the practitioner, the person who's going to be using it. They're also the decision maker, so they can also buy for themselves. So it's going to be quick, and there's the must-have, there's the need here. So that kind of like those three things will probably make them the ideal customer persona for your solution.
I'm interested how to create KPI for SEO because for example, if I create KPI for paid marketing, I can understand it's achievable. I
Yeah.
need to spend such resources, but for SEO, we don't know Google will rank our content or not. How to forecast this KPI?
So I like to set up KPIs for all stages in the funnel for SEO. So first,
Mhm.
you want to rank. So you want to see if you're using Google Search Console, which I really like to use. I do use
Mhm.
Ahrefs and I do use SEO tools, but Google Search Console should still always be your go-to tool and should still have it in your toolbox because there are a lot of things that it is very, very useful for. One of those things is to see the impressions that you're getting on the SERPs on the search engine result page. So you definitely want to use that to kind of see where you're at with regards to impressions, and you want to grow and you want to add more impressions on search engine result page. That's the initial thing that you should be doing. So first, you're going to see the impressions go up even before you're getting any clicks to your website from organic traffic. You're going to get impressions move up. So that's the first thing you want to be looking at. The second thing you want to be looking at is your placement. Your ranking. And you want to move up, obviously, in the ranking. So as a KPI, I would want to have like, all right, I want to rank on page 1. I want to rank number 5. I want to rank number 4. I want to rank number 1 for a certain keyword. But I would even go for a keyword cluster, like for a cloud, so whatever you want to call it. But you know what I mean? It's all the long tails around that keyword. You want to rank for that cluster on page 1. And then, you pick a few of these and then you start writing articles for them. And so that's 2 KPIs that we have, your placement, your how many impressions you're getting. And then the third part, which I really like doing, is when it comes to traffic, I have a target of a certain percentage increase month over month in organic traffic. So now that we're getting the traffic to our website, we need to see it increase month over month. And you don't need to have much. It needs to be around 5 to 10% a month when you're in early stages, when you're not getting a lot of traffic. Because when you think about it, let's say you're getting 500 visits a month on search traffic. So 5%, that's not going to be too much. That's another 25 visits a month. But when you look at that annually, that's 60% increase year over year. So if you target 5 to 10%, if you're in early stage to get month over month, that's a good place to be. You're going to get 60% growth year over year. And that's obviously something that I think is good. If you're more established, if you're getting like 50,000, 100,000 visits a month from organic traffic and more, then that's going to be much tougher to get an average of 5% a month increasing, and increasing that 60%, and doing that exponentially. That's obviously going to be hard to scale and require a lot more work, which goes back to what I said originally, where sometimes growth is easier when you're in an early stage. So that's it. You want to look at your impressions, you want to look at your ranking, and then you want to look at your traffic, and in the traffic you want to see that increase. And of course, and this is the silver lining, this is like, or the icing on top. If you're running B2B, you want to obviously get leads from it. If you're running any kind of other operation, you want to see whatever your conversion is. So you want to see conversions start to come in from this channel as well. That should obviously happen, but that takes time to get there.
So valuable, love it. I have the question about clustering because you mentioned a few times clustering keywords. When I'm using Ahrefs, SEMrush, or any other tools, I can see a list of keywords, a huge list of keywords. For example, if I type weight loss, I can get weight loss supplements, reviews, any other stuff. Can you tell how to cluster all these keywords, how to find the right groups, your loving methods with clustering? Because I see when webmasters usually set up a lot more keywords for one page or duplicate keywords for different pages because Google doesn't like cannibalization. Can you
Yeah.
tell how to find this balance by
Yeah.
clustering keywords?
I mean, well, first, when you start creating a cluster, you got to think about, obviously it has to start with volume, right? So this cluster has to be around a certain keyword. Like we talked about our CRM solution before. So if we imagine the CRM solution as being a cluster, so that's obviously that's enough volume, and then a CRM solution would be that cluster. And then I usually take that cluster and see where are my long tails around it. I use Ahrefs, so I like to find a lot of long tails in that cluster. If I have it, then that's great. I usually know, but by this point, what type of content is the type of content, or what type of queries, before I even get to the content, what type of long tail queries, and that when I see them, I'm like, oh, that's going to be a good article in the cluster. And like, for example, that can be a listicle. Like if somebody wants, if we're doing like CRMs, and then like I see CRM for construction, I'm like, all right, so that could be interesting. And then I could do like content about, how to use your CRM for a construction business, how to use your CRM for law practice, for that kind of thing. So it really depends on what the SEO tools are sending back your way as far as long tails. And that's how I build my cluster, just by seeing, all right, what kind of combinations do I like from what they provided, and what I'm getting in from that. And then think about, then, all right, can this all then work as something that would then be delivered back into the pillar page? The pillar page would be the complete guide to CRM solutions and how to use CRM solutions. Then you build it, and in that you'd have like every industry in there, and that would hyperlink to the different articles. I mean, there's a great article by HubSpot where they talk about how they do clustering in pillar pages themselves. And when you Google for it, you find it. So it's amazing. It's kind of like this, meta win for them, because they're showing to you, and then they drink from the Kool-Aid, and then you see it in search results. So it's really great content, and I recommend, if you Google content clustering, if you Google pillar pages and you see that HubSpot article, that is a great reference to learn how to build out content clusters.
Yeah, love it. Uh, can you tell about priorities? For example, you group a list of keywords, you have a lot of subgroups, but when we have limited resources that we usually have, even big businesses, big companies share some marketing budget, and we can't cover, for example, all group of keywords to create high quality content, because today quality is key. Can you tell how to choose priorities considering your competition? Because we
Yeah.
might have other high quality content online. We need to compete with them to rank. So sometimes it's better to choose content or topics where we can outrank others. Can you tell more about
True.
that?
I mean, it's all about your research, right? So if you research it, and like you say, you find out that you're in a very competitive niche, which a lot of us are, and then it becomes that much harder to develop content and to rank for the keywords that you want to rank for. So yeah, it's about you do your gap analysis. You figure out like, this is what I want to rank for. Like a few different high level keywords. And you see where there's gaps, what your competitors are doing. If they're ranking for similar keywords or the same keywords, where are the gaps? Excuse me. Where are the gaps in their SEO strategy? What have they not targeted? What have they not attacked? And then you also look to, and then you try and match that with what like you have a target audience that you're trying to get to, with the type of content that is relevant for your target audience. And if you can find like a sweet spot, or like on a Venn diagram with the two circles intersect, where you find something that there's a gap between what your competitors are doing in your SEO strategy, and you found that that this content would be relevant for your target audience. And if you want to bring in another circle into that, and on top of that you found it's not too competitive and you can probably rank for it, then that's the article you're going to need to write. And yeah, that should be a win for you.
Okay, I have the question about the difference between ROI and KPI, because they are different metrics, but we need to consider both. Can you tell what is the main difference and how to consider in your strategy?
Yeah, so I mean, like, there's a lot of KPIs, like I mentioned before. A KPI is your key performance index. It's basically what you want to focus your efforts on doing. You don't have to have one. I encourage you to have many. I know that a lot of companies and a lot of the clients that I work with, they prefer to have one. And I understand why, because you want to have that focus. You want to have the entire company focused on one KPI. And you'll see that, like you have LinkedIn influencers like Chris Walker and Dave Gerhardt that will also advocate for the one KPI. I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I believe you need to have as many KPIs as possible for each step in your funnel, right? So if we're trying to, like I mentioned with SEO, first step, impressions on search engine result page. You want to get there. And then you want to get traffic. That's a KPI. 5% growth month over month. That's a KPI. And then leads from organic search. That's another KPI. And then your other KPI are qualified leads from organic search, and then sales from organic search. That is in a B2B funnel. That's what that would look like. And you have a KPI for each stage in that funnel. And there's a different ROI means like your return on investment, and you don't really get ROI until the point that you made a sale. But all those KPIs I just mentioned are before you've even made the sale. So, and then, you can get to that point where, there is the sale, obviously, and that should obviously be a KPI. And you want to be ROI positive, meaning that you made more than what you spent. But in order to get there, you have to look at all the stages in the funnel, because let's say you're not there, you're not getting there. There's no way of knowing where your problem lies unless you have a lot of KPIs along the way, because you can be like, all right, so I see the impressions are going up, the leads are going up, the traffic's going up. They're all, I'm hitting my KPIs. Oh, qualified leads. Qualified leads is not where it needs to be. So I'm getting leads, but they're not qualified. Why? And then now when you're asking the right question. You're asking, first of all, you're not asking like, what's the problem here? You're asking, why am I not getting qualified leads? You have a very specific question, and you have a much better chance of answering that than you did if you were just looking at, I'm just not making enough sales. I'm not ROI positive. I'm spending more than I'm making. So what is my problem if I'm spending more than I'm making? I don't know. It could be a ton of different things. So that's the difference between KPIs and ROI. KPIs help you better understand what's working and what's not working, and be very, very granular about it.
Yeah, interesting. I have the question: how to unite marketing objective to KPI?
So I guess if your marketing objectives, again, this is in B2B, is usually
Mhm.
having leads, users. If you're in SaaS, if you're in low touch SaaS solution, then you want to get users, you want to acquire users. Whether you're doing that through SEO, PPC, it doesn't matter. So it depends. You need to figure out what your ideal customer journey is. What is the
Mhm.
journey? What are the steps that even if you don't have data right now, all right, so let's say you don't have usage, let's say you're starting with scratch, you're going to have to make some guesses. There's no way around it, because you don't have the data. Or you can look at competitors, you can look at, case studies and stuff like that, and then understand, what does a customer journey look like? What does a funnel look like for these other solutions? And each step in that funnel, I believe you should have a KPI. So if that first step is to get somebody on your website, then your first KPI is visits to your website. That's one KPI. If then the next step
Mhm.
is somebody needs to convert on a form, fill in a form, and become a user on a platform, the next one is leads. And then if the next one after that is that they need to, do something in the software solution, perform a certain action, connect a solution, something like that, that's your next one. That would be a qualified lead, somebody who does that action, somebody who can get value from your product. So you connect KPIs to your marketing objectives by having a good understanding of what is the path to conversion, what is the path to becoming a paid customer. Now, if you have the data, you should be able to do that. You should be able to know, stuff like that. And if you don't, you need to look to your competitors or just make an educated guess.
Yeah, interesting. Can you tell about automation? Can we use some automation to compare KPI in marketing? Because I get this question from my audience about automation, how it can help to get a more accurate KPI before creating any campaigns.
So look, I mean, like I mentioned here, let's say that you don't know what the journey is, what your journey is to becoming a paid customer, to becoming an active user, whatever your goal here is. Automation can help you get to that point where faster. Because if you think that, all right, so I have all these people who are becoming users in my platform, in my solution, in my software, but none of them are becoming paid customers. I'm not exactly sure why. This is where you can probably use automation to automate emails, and make connections with them. You can use automation to create different journeys for each one. You can customize what somebody sees in the product itself, in the content that they get, in the communications that you send, based on the actions that they make. And then that can help you better understand if you're on the right path or if you're not on the right path. So I hope that answers the question.
I found on your LinkedIn profile interesting quote that you have unique opportunity to lead marketing efforts for Israel's most innovative B2B tech and software as a service startups from the ground up. Can you tell more about that? What is your unique way to get results for B2B in Israel?
So that's an interesting question. So I have had the opportunity to work with some really innovative companies. I work with a lot of developer tools, and I work with a lot of cybersecurity companies and help them with their go-to-market strategy. I'll give you an interesting fact. There's like an interesting hack that I've done for a lot of my clients. So, and this is I guess I call it the Kaspersky method. Because Kaspersky, if you know the antivirus software, they are very good at finding viruses or finding cyber attacks. They search the net for it, and then when they find it, then they make a big show about it. They give it a name. So they give that so they find like a cyber attack, they find a vulnerability, they find a virus, and they give it a name. They call it like computer screen 2.1. And now they're going to do a lot of PR around it. They're going to write a lot of articles. They just gave it that name. So what they just did was, now that they've created all this buzz around it, when people are going to look for computer screen 2.1, they're going to always find Kaspersky now. And they've basically owned that term, and they are owning that category that solves for it. And then, like, if somebody's looking for computer screen 2.1 solution, protection, software, then they will find Kaspersky now. So that is a very, very smart little trick that they do. And I've employed that too. Now, for the great thing about working with startups that are very innovative and that are in the Israeli ecosystem is that they're able to raise money from VCs. And when you raise money from VCs, this type of operation, doing this and raising that kind of awareness is expensive. It's hard to do that when you're bootstrapped. When you're bootstrapped, what I would do is I would listen to companies like Kaspersky, see when they do something like this, and then ride that wave. Jump on that wave really quickly with them and do it. Because there's in search engine results pages, there's 10 results. Kaspersky can only have one, maybe two. Google's not going to let them have 10. So if they invent this new term, and if you're seeing companies that lead your industry inventing like this new terminology, inventing something, jump on that really quickly and join them on, because they're going to spend a lot of money making sure that search term becomes something that everybody's familiar with. So when you start off, it's going to be zero competition there, but as it goes along, it's going to be much more. So that's kind of like one of the things that I do with the companies that I work with. And thankfully, they're almost all have money coming from venture capital. And that's the kind of thing we spend it on.
So valuable. Love it. Yeah. Especially about Kaspersky. Yeah. Love these methods. I have the question about things that projects, websites, webmasters don't need to do. They may be obsolete or something like this. Can you tell? Because, I often see when webmasters provide some efforts with things that are obsolete, for example, to use black hat techniques or fixing some unnecessary errors on their websites, for example, like meta text keywords or fixing pages. I mean, like alt text for pages like
Mm.
about us or about company, contact page. Can you tell how to which from your experience, which methods it's better to avoid today, or obsolete, or they don't work, or we can be penalized
Look,
by
I
them?
mean, it's really about, so I know that there's that a lot of influencers, they like to fame or shame a certain method, right? Like, never use this method again, it's terrible, or this is the new SEO or whatever. At the end of the day, Google has to show search results. If you search
Mhm.
for something, there's got to be something there. Something has to come up when you click
Yeah.
enter and in it. So that means that if you're in a non-competitive niche, you can be as black hat and as terrible as you want. Google's going to have to show something. So it's going to show your result. And then you're going to find like conversations when you go into forums, when you go into Reddit, subreddits, and when you go into groups on Facebook, on Slack, on whatever, Twitch, wherever you hang out, and people are going to say, no, this still works, or no, this doesn't work anymore. It really depends on your niche. It really depends on how competitive it is. It's true. I mean, like, as a general statement, a lot of the old school black hat SEO will hurt you. If you're not doing it in a smart way, and then not being, assertive about it, and you're just, pumping yourself full of paid links and stuff like that. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. But if you're in a non-competitive niche, and again, Google has to show search results, and let's say, pretty much all your competitors are doing terrible things with their SEO, or they're not doing SEO, they're not optimized. So then, it's all just a comparison of who you're competing with for that query. So that's why competition is such a major part of SEO. I mean, it's all relative. It's all about the context, and it's all about what your competitors are doing. So I don't kill and I don't fame any kind of technique. Well, I do fame certain things, like writing, obviously, even if you're in a non-competitive niche, if you do write great content, and if you do have good on-page SEO, just building the right structure of your page, and good internal linking, and that kind of like pretty much basic SEO that everybody's should be doing now, then if you're in a non-competitive niche, that should be enough to rank. You don't really need backlinks, and you don't really need to do a lot more than that. But if you're in a super competitive niche, yeah, you're going to need all the other things, but then you have to be really smart about it, and yeah, and just not do anything that would put you on Google's radar.
Love it, love it. I have the question about learning digital marketing or SEO. For example, if you started today from scratch without any experience, skills, what will you do to learn more about SEO and KPI if you wanna sell these services or help others?
Great question. And it's and it's content has been king for like about 10 years, I think, since I think it was Matt Cutts who said it. I can't even remember who it was, but it was a while back.
Mhm.
Google,
Bill Gates
SEO.
said.
What's that?
Bill
What's that?
Gates said.
Yeah,
Bill
Okay.
Gates.
What
Yeah,
did
in 1996, I remember.
96. Really? No way. All
Yeah.
right. All right. I didn't know that. So in any case, Google SEO agency, Google stuff like the most competitive keywords you think about, just Google them and see, and then like analyze and try and analyze and understand like why the person who's in number one is number one. Look at the code, look at the on page, be able to read HTML. You need to be able to read a little bit of HTML. HTML is easy to read. Even if you're not a coder, I'm not a coder. It's pretty easy to read and understand HTML. So just look at the way that they have it structured. Look at run it through an SEO tool and see what their backlinks look like. Look at an article that ranks number one for a super competitive keyword, and try to get as much information as you can from it. And I think that will help you become a much better SEO.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, I have the question about the future. Can you predict the future of SEO? Because many things are coming, like metaverse, others. I don't know, like Web 3.0, augmented reality. What do you think? What kind of future some we are expecting? Because someone wanna started, to learn about SEO, and is it good idea to jump on this field, or it's better to find something else? What do you think?
I don't know about that, but I mean, like, I think a few trends that are interesting and I'm seeing happening with SEO is first content created by AI.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of SEO content already created by AI. Right now, Google is having a hard time telling the difference, but humans can still tell the difference. I've seen a lot of AI written content. Most of it is not it depends on the topic that you're writing about, right? If you're writing about cookery and the best pans for your kitchen, sometimes an AI can do an okay job at that. But stuff that requires high authority and is very technical and complicated, like medical advice and that kind of thing, AI still can't do a decent enough job, and I think that most websites won't risk it. But I think the future will be that either it will be very, very hard to tell the difference between AI written content and human content, or that Google will be able to tell the difference. We won't be able to, but somehow Google will be able to tell the difference. I don't know, but one of them is going to happen. It's just going to be AI content just all around, which is not great if you're a content writer, but is amazing if you're an SEO person. So sometimes they're the same, but if they're not, then it could be interesting. And if Google is able to kind of like combat that and understand if it is AI content, because Google has come out and said that if you do use AI content, then you will be penalized. But there's a lot of research that's shown that they can't tell the difference right now. So that's one thing. The other thing that I'm seeing is obviously voice searches. I'm sure all of us use to some degree voice searches, and then you're getting basically you're getting back a voice answer without ever leaving the search engine result page. So that's a big trend that Google is not allowing traffic to leave the search engine result page. So we're gonna see less and less traffic coming in from search. And then if you want people to be exposed to your content, you need to get into the snippet, into the featured snippet, because usually that's, at least right now, that's what's getting through on voice searches. And we may see a change in the business models of a lot of the websites that use that are very Google search focused. A good example is WebMD, one of the biggest SEO optimized websites. They monetize their website with ads. So I think that websites that monetize with ads and are heavily reliant on Google search traffic are going to have an issue. They're going to have a problem because they're going to see their search traffic keep going down over time. And they're going to have to figure something out. I don't know what it is, but I think that the trend is you're going to see less traffic from organic search, and you need to be very, very focused on getting value to the reader, and also getting value to yourself for what you're trying to sell in that featured snippet for that specific query. That should be the focus for the future. It's just around, like getting it into that 200 characters, or I don't even know how many.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. You remind me when I asked this question, Fabrice Canel from Bing, about AI tools. I asked him, do we need to use them because Google might penalize for using these tools? And he replied to me, Bing doesn't care about do you use tools or not. Bing cares about quality. If you can create high quality content with AI tools, why not? Use them, And yeah, I usually use them, by the way. I use, but I edit. I think today they are not ready to replace writers. I mean, like great writers, or they can replace mediocre writers who have no enough experience. But great writers, they can't. Probably in the future we will see. And yeah, I think even for Google, it doesn't matter Google can recognize or not. It's more about quality. If you can create high quality content with AI tools, why not? Sure,
No,
use them.
That's a good point. That's a good point that he makes. But Google did say that they would penalize for it, at least on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
They may change their mind. It could be something that they end up changing their minds, because that is a good point. What does it matter? Why would we care? If it's good content, if it's good value, who cares if it's written by AI or not? I mean, not yet. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can agree with
I've seen this tweet from John Mueller, and he
Yeah.
mentioned that AI tools usually rewrite content, and it's the same technique that was 10 years ago with rewriting tools. And I reviewed many tools, and yeah, they rewrite. They just rewrite. They don't provide any value. They take content from the top 10 and rewrite. When you analyze the results, you can see some insights from 5 years ago, something like this. So yeah, it takes time to edit. For example, I use them, but I spend time by adding new valuable insights about this niche, even about digital marketing. So if I see it's obsolete, I take away. It only helps to save time. When you write yourself, you can like spend 8 hours to write 2,000 words, but with AI tools, you can spend like a few hours, 2 hours to write the same number of words. So yeah, it's about quality. It's a big pleasure to get you on my show. Tell our audience how they can reach out to you, learn more about you, follow you.
Yeah, you can feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. Send me a connection request on LinkedIn, on Twitter, or check out my website mvpgrow.com.
Nice. Okay, guys, you can find all these links in the description below. Follow because you need to learn this knowledge. You can see that a lot of valuable insights we got on this show. You listen us on Apple, Google, Spotify, and see you next time.